Most leaders don't realize that they're burned out until it's far too late. Not when they're working late nights, not when they're missing their kids' school play, not even when their marriage starts to feel like a meeting. Burnout doesn't hit like a bomb. It builds like a slow leak. And by the time that you see the damage, it's already starting to cost you the things that matter the most. I've seen it in senior leaders, junior leaders, and I have felt it myself. You think that grinding it out proves commitment. You think that being always on makes you somehow irreplaceable. But the hard truth is this: you are replaceable at work. You are not replaceable at home. In this episode, we're going to break down why leaders burn out, how to spot the early signs, and how to lead at a high level without sacrificing your sanity or your family in the process. Welcome to the Everyday Diplomat. I'm Michael Forras, a retired Marine Sergeant Major, former U.S. diplomat, and somebody who spent the better part of 20 years leading high-performing teams through crisis, conflict, and constant change. I've led Marines in combat zones, advised diplomats in embassies, and stepped into organizations where morale was broken and burnout was everywhere. And I've learned this the hard way. Sustainable leadership isn't about pushing harder, it's about leading smarter and longer. This channel exists to help you lead with impact, to grow your influence, and to do it all without losing yourself in the process. Let's go ahead and start with the hard truth. Leadership burnout doesn't show up all at once. It slowly creeps in. And the scary part is, it often wears a disguise. It looks like commitment. It looks like work ethic. It even looks like doing what needs to be done. I've been there. I used to believe that if you were a good leader, you'd be the first one in the building in the morning and the last one to leave at night. It didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter if there was nothing urgent. It didn't matter if your team had already gone home. If the lights were still on, I'd stay. And I thought that that made it better. In the Marine Corps, we earn 30 days of vacation, of leave a year. And depending on the rules that particular fiscal year, we're typically allowed to carry over up to 60 days before it starts to get taken away. And you know what? Some of us wore lost vacation days like some ridiculous misguided badge of honor. I didn't take a single day of vacation this year. I lost 15 days of leave, just didn't have the time. That wasn't viewed as poor management. It was viewed as some kind of loyalty, as proof that you cared more than the other guy. Now, I look back and I shake my head at that thought. That wasn't leadership. That was erosion. Slow, silent erosion. Because burnout doesn't start with exhaustion. It starts when your values slowly start to drift from your behavior. You say that your family matters. Then you miss your daughter's recital. You say balance is important. Then you haven't taken a real day off in more than 6 months. You say that you're okay, but you haven't laughed, rested, or felt fully present in weeks. And because it creeps in gradually, most leaders don't catch it until something cracks. A blow up at home, a health scare, a team that starts underperforming because you're not really with them anymore. Burnout isn't just fatigue, it's emotional depletion. It's losing your empathy. It's waking up every morning and dreading the very thing that you used to feel proud of. And here's the most dangerous part of this. When leaders start to normalize the feeling of burnout, the team is going to follow because people are watching. They're always watching. And if they see that you're running yourself into the ground, never taking leave, never shutting off, never pausing, they're going to assume that that's what real leadership requires. And if they want to succeed, they feel like they're going to have to follow that same broken path that you're on. That's how it spreads. That's how burnout becomes baked into the culture until it's not just you feeling the weight, it's everybody around you. So before we talk about how to fix it, we need to call it out for what it is. Burnout isn't a weakness. It's not a lack of grit. It's not something that just happens to soft people. It's a consequence, a leadership consequence of not having clear boundaries, not being honest about your limits, and not having systems in place that allow you to lead with longevity. The reality here is this. You can't pour anything out of an empty cup. And if you keep on trying, eventually you're either going to break or you're going to start breaking other people without ever realizing it. That's what burnout really looks like. In the next section, we're going to talk about the real cost, not just to you, but to your family, your legacy, and the people that you care most about. We're only one section into this video, but if you found that this message is starting to hit close to home and you're a new or even a seasoned leader who's never been taught how to lead without burning out, check out Foundations course at everydaydiplomat.com. It's the exact leadership toolkit that I wish that I had when I first stepped into a senior leadership role. And it'll show you how to lead effectively while protecting the one asset that you can't replace, yourself. Burnout doesn't just affect your performance at work. It affects absolutely everything in your life and everyone connected to you. One of the most dangerous myths that we tell ourselves as leaders is this: I'm doing this for my family. And maybe at first that's true. You take on the late nights and the extra pressure to provide for them, to create the better future, to build something that you can be proud of. But then something shifts. You start missing dinner more often. You skip your kid's baseball game because one more meeting. You're present, but you're not there. And eventually, the people that you're doing this for feel more like the people you're doing it to. This is the part that we don't talk about enough. I've seen leaders retire after more than 30 years of service, walk out of the gate, proud at their legacy, and return home to a family that barely knows them anymore. They were married to the Marine Corps. They were married to the mission, but divorced from the people who actually needed them the most. And it's not because they were bad people. It's because the slow burn of leadership pressure, when unchecked, makes you believe that the mission won't survive without you. Let me be crystal clear. The mission is going to survive without you. The machine will keep on running. Your email will get forwarded. Your title is going to be replaced. But your family, they can't replace you, and they shouldn't have to. We pour everything into the workplace and we expect our families to just understand, to wait until things slow down, to hold the line while we chase that promotion, the project, the career. But what happens when they stop waiting? I've seen marriages completely break down. I've seen kids grow up resenting the uniform, the Marine Corps, and the mission because it always seemed more important than they were. And the hardest part, leaders often don't realize what they've lost until they've stepped away, until they retire, until the job doesn't need them anymore, and suddenly they come home to silence. You can leave a legacy at work, but don't do it at the expense of the people who will be standing by your side when the work is all done. So here's the question that every leader needs to ask. When I walk away from the job, what's going to be waiting for me when I get home? Because that's the measure of success that no promotion, no paycheck, and no mission can ever replace. Before we go ahead and dive into the solution here, I want to give you something that'll help you lead better starting right now, today. It's a free guide that I call 10 Things to Never Say as a Leader. These are real phrases that quietly kill morale, erode trust, and speed up burnout for you and your team. You can go ahead and grab a copy of it right now at everydaydiplomat.com. It's 100% free, and it's incredibly practical, and it's built from real-world experience. Now that we've talked about what burnout really is and the cost of ignoring it, let's go ahead and talk about what to do about it. Because here's the truth. You can be a strong, effective, respected leader without burning yourself down in the process. It's true. But you have to lead intentionally, and it starts with these 3 things. First, you have to set boundaries early and stick to them. Stick to them. That's the important key right here. I want to get something completely straight. Working longer hours doesn't automatically equate to making you a better leader. It might mean that you're disorganized, it might mean that you're filling space to look committed, or it might just mean that you've forgotten where work ends and where life begins. I used to believe that being the first one in and the last one out, just for the sake of filling those titles, proved that I was more loyal than the other person. That it showed somehow that I was willing to outwork everybody else, that it made me somehow irreplaceable. But all it really did was make me unavailable to my family, to my health, and eventually to myself. Great leaders model sustainability because what you normalize becomes the culture. If you normalize working a 70 to 100 hour work week, your team is going to try to do the same thing until they can't. If you've never taken leave, they're going to try to stop taking leave too. If you treat exhaustion as some sort of virtue, you're going to burn out your entire organization. The best time to set these boundaries is before the pressure begins to mount, before the mission picks up, before you're forced to choose between your kid's game and a meeting that could have just been an email. Boundaries don't limit your effectiveness, they preserve it. Next, build a culture that doesn't run on chaos. Burnout isn't always a personal issue. It's often a cultural one. I've stepped into teams where the stress wasn't about workloads. It was about distrust. It was about unclear expectations. It was about the culture that said, figure it out, but don't screw up. And when that's the atmosphere, everybody's on edge, including the leader. The culture that you lead either relieves stress or it's going to create it. Here's the difference. Healthy cultures have a lot of clarity. People know exactly what's expected and they know how success is actually measured. Healthy cultures have trust. They allow for space for questions, for mistakes, and for real conversations. Healthy cultures have rhythm, and they balance the urgency with sustainability. When your team feels psychologically safe, you, as the leader, don't have to carry every single thing on your own shoulders. You've got the people who speak up, step up, and keep each other grounded. But when the culture runs on fear or confusion, all that weight rolls right uphill and lands right on you. So don't just go ahead and fix yourself. You need to fix the system around you. Build a culture that you don't have to recover from every single day. Next, create reset habits that actually fit your life. This part really matters because all too often we read a book or listen to a podcast and we hear about burnout solutions that don't actually fit the lives of real people. Just drink some organic chai and meditate in the morning. Take an hour to journal in your book. Or how about you go ahead and reserve a silent retreat once a quarter? This all sounds great until your phone's blowing up and your team's under pressure and the only silence that you've heard all day was the 40 seconds that you walked to the restroom in between meetings. That's not real life. What's real life for me, and uniquely for me, you need to go ahead and find your own thing, is this. I go on what I call walkabouts. When the day starts pressing in, I take just a few moments and I step outside. Even if it's just around the building or to the far end of the lot, it gives me that space I need to think. It lets me reset without escaping. Some of my best decompression happens when my wife and I go on a hike. We talk through what we're working on, we reconnect, and it's not about productivity, it's about presence together in the moment. And even on the busiest days, sometimes all I need is just a closed door, a moment of quiet, and a chance to reheat that cold cup of coffee that I've already forgotten about 3 times. That pause, that breath, that reminder of why I do what I do, it changes everything. You don't need a fancy tool or a perfect circumstance to reset. You need permission from yourself to pause and then to recenter. So go ahead and figure out what works for you, not what works for some guru that you found on YouTube, not what works on some podcast that you listen to, but what actually works for you, for your rhythm, your reality, and the role that you're in. Because leading with longevity isn't about avoiding pressure. It's about building the internal strength and then the external systems to carry it without collapsing. If this episode has given you something to think about or has reminded you of what really matters, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And go ahead and share this with another leader who needs to hear it. Strong leadership doesn't mean burning out. It means staying in the fight and then staying yourself while you do it. Here's my closing message to you, and I really want you to pay attention to this. At some point, the mission is going to end. Whether you leave after 5 years or you retire after 30, the work is going to move on. Your inbox is going to be reassigned. The title that you earned, it's going to be replaced. And the machine, the big machine, is going to keep on running. But when you walk through the door at your home, what's going to be waiting for you? Your real legacy isn't in the policies that you shaped or the teams that you led. It's in the people who knew you outside the uniform, off the clock, when you weren't performing, but you were just being. So yes, lead with purpose, show up strong, build something that actually matters, but don't lose yourself in the process, because when all the noise fades, the only people who really care who you are the ones that you come home to. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us, and please stick around for the next video.